So now what we're going to do is we substitute.
Luckily for Ethan Mohammed, he was visiting for spring break when the COVID-19 pandemic forced our borders closed.
Currently, I am a student. I attend university in Miami, and I had online classes as well. And I know sometimes if they're not done well, it can lead to a little bit of frustration, and especially if you have no access at all, you're just lost. And as someone who was when I was in secondary school, I was a student who wasn't always at the top, and I know what it's like to not understand.
It was this experience and the feedback from students from his alma mater, Hillview College, that made him come up with the idea of scholarly TT. Though he's not a teacher, he thought his recent knowledge with CSEC math was something worth sharing, especially as the shift to online learning is taking place.
Some schools couldn't set that up properly. Some teachers didn't have the resources or the computer necessary. I just wanted to create an outlet to help people who need it.
The feedback he has received so far has helped him stay motivated, but the journey here has not always been smooth.
And every time I post a video, the support is great. Students tell me they understand and they're actually learning, and that's all I really wanted this to be. Given the equation of the line 2x minus 5,
The national scholarship winner in the open category for mathematics admits he wasn't always an A student. So when asked his secret formula for success,
it's just a lot of hard work and dedication, to be honest. There's no secret trick to it. And once you want something enough, you will do all that is necessary to achieve it.
some of the student users say Ethan's approach to learning is something they can relate to because just like them, he is a student.
It's different from his perspective than like an actual school teacher's perspective because he understands us kids more than the teachers will.
He has a lot of experience, so you know that he did the same subject.
While he's not attempting to replace formal learning, Ethan has found a way to give back to his student community, and he's encouraging others to do the same in their own way. Michael Ramsing, CNC3 News.
Good night, Trinidad and Tobago, good night, and welcome to Mike on the Mic. In case you're wondering and you want to know what's happening, we're here, we're live. Let me just get rid of this little billboard I have here in the corner here. These are my guests. We introduced them just now, but before we get to that, share the live. We need to build the community here on Mike on the Mic. Those who are out there, we're going to have an interesting conversation here tonight. Hoping that it's not too long because I'm straight out of work. I'm trying to organize this in the background, as I told Ethan before. But his program, Scholarly TT, as you saw in our recap video there, has been growing, and we want to be able to touch base with my small community here on Mike on the Mic and get some more information as things keep to be growing. We want to continue supporting one another out there with this global pandemic we are facing here in Trinidad and Tobago. Without further ado, let me introduce the guys. Let me put on the mics first so we can hear them. How have things been on your end, guys? But before we start, Teresa, Ethan, introduce yourself and introduce yourself to my audience.
Okay, sure.
Okay. You go.
Hey, hi guys. Good night, everyone. My name is Teresa Bagwan Singh, and I teach biology, CSEC biology, on Ethan's platform Scholarly TT. And I am also a college student. I attend Boston University in the States. And this experience has been great, sharing it with the team and with Ethan. And I'm really glad for this opportunity to be here tonight on this live with you. And I look forward to an interesting conversation.
Ethan.
Yes, my name is Ethan Mohammed, and I'm the founder of Scholarly TT. And I would just like to say, Mike, thanks for having us on this show once again. Me and Teresa are really happy for this opportunity to share and update everybody on what the progress we have made. And just to recap, as I just said, I founded Scholarly TT around 2.5 months ago, and we offer free CSEC and CAPE classes primarily on Facebook. And our team has grown from just me to now Teresa and around 9 other persons, and we offer CSEC math. I do CSEC math, Teresa does CSEC biology. We also have CSEC chem, add math, physics. We have career development sessions. And just recently, we had a charity run called Scholarly Fun, and we donated over $10,000, closer to $13,000, to help students in need across Trinidad and Tobago with textbooks, with tablets, and even grocery hampers to help parents make their ends meet. So it's really something that has progressed at an exponential rate, and we are really happy that we are able to help all those that need it.
This man sound like the CEO, man.
No.
No, you like the CEO. So you say you're new here to Mike on the mic, so
Yeah.
I'll ask you a few questions. So first of all, because this is a follow-up interview for my audience who know Ethan already.
Yeah.
Teresa, what was your push, or what was that? How you say? What gave you that inspiration to come on board any team and to give back to the community?
Well, thank you for your question, Mike. To be honest, well, I consider myself, being fortunate in terms of being a student, and I had, a good experience going to school. But I know across the country, not all kids have that opportunity. And seeing that, Ethan was able to come up with this idea and reach out to a lot of us. Seeing that it was summertime as well, I was like, it's a good idea, and it really and truly is something that I thought that why not? I am good in this capacity in terms of the subject of biology because I'm doing pre-med at the moment. And, if I can help, even if it's just a few kids, I really thought that it would be a great idea in terms of a way of giving back to the community. And hopefully doing this, other kids would want to follow in our footsteps and help others who will need it and who can't help themselves. So that
we got a little context from Ethan earlier on in the video. What was your journey like from secondary school to now studying in college? What was that journey like for you?
Well, thank you for your question. So I attended St. Augustine Girls High School. I graduated in 2018, and actually I got an additional scholarship for sciences, and I was able to go to England actually to study for a year. But then I transferred to the United States, and currently I'm enrolled at Boston University, BU in the United States, and I'm now doing pre-med there at the moment. And in terms of my journey, I'd had the opportunity to study home here in Trinidad, but I just thought that, I would like to take that further step to try and get, to just reach out, to be more out there. And I think being in that system, I'm able, with my teachings on scholarly, for example, I can bring back some of that knowledge and their methods of teaching from the States, for example, to the kids back home here. Yeah.
That's so similar to Ethan.
Yeah.
You had that. You saw what he was doing, and you thought it was the right opportunity to give back to the community. Yeah.
Definitely.
And how has COVID-19 affected you and school, and you directly too as well? Because Ethan, in the first interview that I did with him, the extended interview, he gave a kind of recap that it affected his in school. He was lucky enough to be home at spring break, and that allowed him the opportunity to stay in Trinidad. What has that journey been like for you?
Well, actually, thankfully, I was at home. I actually got stuck in the States for 6 months. So I was actually doing my scholarly classes while I was away from home. And I had a few family members over there, but my parents weren't there with me. But this opportunity of doing scholarly, it gave me, because I was quite frustrated being stuck away from home. But this opportunity of scholarly, besides for having my classes online, even though I wouldn't say it was extra work for me because it was something that I was accustomed to doing, it was actually something that kept my mind off of the whole COVID situation and kept me occupied during my time. So I think it really was a great opportunity. And with respect to online classes, for me, there is a downfall with respect to the human aspect of being at school, interacting with your peers and your teachers. But I also think it gave me a chance to probably focus a bit more on myself and as well have this opportunity to do scholarly in the first place. Because I know if we had in-person classes, doing scholarly would have been a bit more challenging.
Yeah, and I kind of, as I said, it's an organic conversation as we head off, right? Ethan know the way I do my stuff and how I talk and that kind of stuff too as well. So I'll bounce it off on Ethan now as well. What has it been like being home in Trinidad? I mean, you say you was away for a little while before you came back home. You're home in Trinidad now, right, Teresa?
Yes, I'm finally back home.
Okay. What has it been like for you all young people, home, trapped in your house? They can't really go out that much, can't interact, can't have that social aid. Let me get Ethan to jump in the conversation a little bit, and then we get your perspective.
No problem.
Yeah, it's definitely been a big change. I mean, online classes is something where I have sometimes a hard time focusing because, as Teresa said, there's that lack of the human element, and you have to now turn your bedroom, your dining room table into a a school or university, right? And there's a lot of distractions around you. You're home, you kind of just want to stay in your bed, or it's harder to focus as well. But for me, I use that extra time and that opportunity to, as Tracy said, dedicate it to scholarly, and it is something that overall has been a positive experience for me. I try to use my extra time to exercise in my backyard, play a little football now and then. So I would say overall it has been a positive experience, but it definitely has its challenges, and it's really what you make it.
And just before Teresa, before you answer that, let me just put up the billboard here. For those coming in here to Mike on the mic, please share the live. Please comment. There's an interactive space. You want to see some comments come on the screen. We have 2 scholarship winners here that you can get some students out there, parents out there who want to get some insight and some information. Ask your questions. Now is the time to ask the questions. They're here for you here tonight. Teresa, same question as Ethan was answering.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So, being at home, to be honest, I am very happy that I'm actually home because I've been stuck away for 6 months. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying being at home. I'm definitely using this time to spend a lot of family time that I would have missed with a lot of my family members in terms of events, important events that I would have missed, like birthdays, etc. But classes have also started back for me online, so I am very caught up in that whole day. If I don't have classes, then I have to study for exams, or I have labs to do, so different things. So I do miss going out, I'm not going to lie. Being back home in Trinidad, everyone wants to go line once in a while. And even the at-home lines now, you want to not have that because of, COVID and the fact that your friends can have it, and you don't want that to happen. Yeah.
Like this man have a project management app, Ethan, going off in the background, only and have somebody pinging in the background.
Oh yeah, no, that's not me. I don't know.
Somebody have I don't know. It's like if somebody study time and it's bell ping time.
yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
No, but the both of you all were out for a little bit and you're back in Trinidad. What's the first thing you're looking forward to back in Trinidad? What's the first?
Definitely food.
Yeah, for sure. I can agree with that. I mean, personally, I can't cook anything, so it's already kind of rough normally. So being back home, having your parents around and everything, and you have a good home cooked meal is something that I definitely welcome. Yeah, for real, it's something that I really look forward to. And yeah, I mean, I'm overall for me, I'm happy to be home.
Same I guess it for you, Teresa, too, as well, right?
Definitely.
So nobody first thing on reaching the airport or they want to looking for doubles, nothing.
I thought things were getting better back home with respect to the COVID cases, so I was happy for that. But then as soon as I came out of quarantine, we were in lockdown again. So that was quite disappointing, but it is what it is,
Either one of you participated in any way in terms of the election or even observing it as young people? How to frame this question without getting sued, boy? As young people, I've seen how the environment was on the outside, because I can give you some instance too. Ethan know that too as well. I'm documenting Mike on the mic basically, and I know we're kind of new to each other, Teresa. But Mike on the mic was built during the COVID-19 experience. I'm a cameraman. I work in the media, and at that time, I'm in the high risk. And at that time, the company made a mandate that they sent us home for the first instant to observe what was happening. And during that instant, I started reporting. I started to use the digital space and digital technologies in order for me to be able to advance and continue working. But now that this seems to be the new normal, we have to change gears once again and try to find, as I say, a new normal and a new way of thinking and a new way of operating here in Trinidad and Tobago. For me, I was out on the field, and why I asked the question, when it was during the election time, you see a lot of people not social distancing, not wearing the mask. Yeah. And it's interesting that, it's only after the election, and then we started hear the amount of deaths and the amount of how community spread was. I know a lot of the students came back to Trinidad because it was one of the safest places to be at the time because it didn't have that community spread. What do you all think can be the solution now to continue flattening the curve? Having that experience out on the outside and then back in Trinidad now too as well.
Yeah. Well, Mike, well, in the States, as you guys know, things have, the cases were terrible. There were many cases, things I think it's still climbing. So, for example, in Florida, it's just simple as wearing a mask. A lot of people have been going against wearing a mask. So I think if Trinidadians, if our community really tries and to adhere to those rules, to social distance, to wear their mask, to stay at home when you can, I think that would really help, because back in the States, that was the prime reason that people were that the spread was continuing. People were out in public, they weren't wearing their masks, they were going to restaurants. So I definitely think that's one of the main ways we can flatten the curve, for sure.
Do you have any ideas how we can flatten this curve, Ethan?
Well, I mean, what you have to do is really stick to the COVID guidelines as suggested by the WHO, the World Health Organization, and the Trinidad and Tobago government, which is, wear a mask, social distance, wash your hands effectively. Lots of persons actually don't know how to properly wash their hands. So, it's very important to observe that. Also use hand sanitizer and other precautionary measures. I see some people also wear a mask and a face shield. So I guess, the more the merrier. But I think the biggest thing in Trinidad is that people just need to wear their mask and observe the social distancing, stop congregating, and really just work with the government. I mean, it's something where we all need to work together to achieve this common goal of defeating COVID. And the more we disobey these rules, the more the curve grows, right? And then that puts a strain on the healthcare system, and then persons who need the help can get the help. So it's really something where, as all of us as a society, we need to come together, agree that, we stop doing certain things which we're used to doing, because, in our culture, we're all really close. We like to lime, we like to go and take a drink here and there, and we can't do those things right now. And it's just something where it's more of a behavioral change that we need to implement. So I would say the best course of action is to really just stick to the guidelines, minimize going out if you can, besides from the obvious work and so on, and just wear your mask and be a responsible citizen.
My intention wasn't to make anybody comfortable. I just try to give perspective that we as right-thinking young individuals in Trinidad and Tobago are on the right path, and learning through this pandemic, the shadow of this pandemic that we're all facing together, that we can make responsible decisions. Because a lot of the time, we as young people, well, I call myself young, but I'm not that young. A lot of people say, that we don't have that perspective and we don't have that thing. And I wanted to share to the wider listening public that there are people in society that is thinking about the pandemic and is thinking about things for the future and ways that we can kind of help flatten that curve and making responsible decisions. That's the reasoning for the questioning. I know we kind of went a little bit away from the scholarly TT a little bit, but I think that's what Mike on the Mic is here for. I wanted to build a community with people who were thinking about COVID-19 and show that we're all in it together as a community and we can all support one another. Going back to that support and scholarly TT, why was it important for you guys to give back to the community now in a financial and physical way? Because you were already giving back in terms of free time and giving back in terms of the portal for scholarly TT, the different subjects. But why on Sunday? It's Sunday, right, Ethan? Why?
Yes, it was last Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday. Why was it important for you guys to give back to the community physically now too as well?
Right. Basically what happened, right, is as Scholarly grew and we got more and more reach from our classes now, we opened up a sponsorship program where, we wrote proposal to lots of businesses around the country. And basically it was a way for them to advertise their business. So over time, more and more businesses were represented on our page, and we had gotten a pool of funds. And I had the idea, which I messaged in the team group chat, and I said, what we should do is really give this away, because we may not need this money as much as the other persons in society who are really having a hard time right now. It's a really difficult time. So I decided, if we have this pool of funds, instead of dividing it 9 ways and everybody gets something, we all just decide unanimously, let's give this away and really have as much of an impact we can. So it was more about maximizing scholarly's potential and helping as much people as we can, because at the end of the day, a lot of people are home, and online classes are the new normal. And Scholarly has contributed a huge library of content. We have over 100 videos, or almost 100 videos. So we can't offer people help if they don't even have the means to get there. So that's why we decided to give away 10 tablets. We decided to help people with their book lists and even give people groceries to help their ends meet. And this was really just a great group effort, not only from sponsors, but also from the team. I mean, our team has amazing, hardworking, talented individuals such as Teresa, who has made maybe over 10, I believe it's over 10 biology videos, which are exceedingly high quality. So our team has many great people. I mean, Teresa is here tonight, and she's a really great example of what the scholarly team has to offer and the type of content we can deliver on a free basis. And this video that we are referencing right now on the screen is actually Scholarly Fund. This is how we announced the fund and we accepted applications. It did really well, and through this we were able to, as I just said, help a lot of students.
You get copyright for that song? Or?
Yeah, no, that's God's plan. Yeah, yeah.
Don't tell me I just said get the music now. Sorry, that drum off.
Yeah.
Sorry, not really true. That's right. Anyway, so yes, you were saying it was important for you all to give back to. Was your perspective, Teresa? In fact, the fact that you were able to physically give back to the community, you gave them some tablets, you gave them some I think it was some food
Yes, grocery
hampers, and it was also some book vouchers. What was that feeling like for you, Teresa, going through something like that with the team?
Honestly, Mike, it was one of the greatest experiences I've had, being so hands-on, and especially the responses that we got from the people that we helped. For example, I remember this one little boy in particular that I was able to give something to. He seemed so appreciative of it. He literally looked like he was almost going to cry. He thanked us so much for the videos and for us being able to help him. And really and truly, that touched my heart. And it was then I realized how, because I wasn't able to meet any of the kids that we personally were able to help until that day. So it's then when I realized that we're actually doing something that people really, besides for the kids, the parents and the family and the whole lot, they really appreciate. I was also able to meet an organization that deals with autistic kids. And for me, that's something that really, really hit home, because I worked with autistic kids before, and I know how difficult it can be to deal with them. And the fact that these people are doing this and they're trying to reach out, and the fact that Scholarly was able to help these people, to help those kids, that really, really meant a lot. So I think definitely this experience, I will remember it for a lifetime. And I really am grateful for having that experience. And working with the team, it was amazing. It was amazing to see, regardless of all the COVID-19 and all the guidelines, we did follow it. But it really was good to see that we could reach out to people like this, and hopefully we can do it again.
And I'm glad that you said that the way you said it as well too, in terms of reaching out to different communities and different sectors of the society. What would you say to Trinidadians out there? Both of you guys can answer. We could get Teresa first and then Ethan after, who may be thinking about giving back but hold back and not get involved in NGOs or not get involved in actually giving back. Because you said you were with the Autistic Society. Is that correct, right? Yeah. How important it is, and what is the satisfaction? Because I want to be able to encourage more people to give back, even to here on the Mike community. I'm offering a platform. This is for free. I've been investing some money, and I've been investing a lot of time in trying to get this platform built a particular way, in order for me to be able to reach out and build a community here of like minds and people out there seeing that young people could take the country forward. And it's very important for us to build communities and to build that networking system. Good night, Kevin. Good night, Richard. I've seen a few people here to say good night to. Yeah, good night, Kevin, Richard. I think it's Jovan. My small little community. Good night to everybody out there. Going back to you guys. How important is it for us to be able to build communities and for us to come together, especially at this time in COVID-19 where the border is locked?
Yeah.
And sometimes it might be a neighbor next door that doesn't have something and we need to be able to help out. How important is that?
Exactly. Well, Mike, I think it's very important, and for the people who will actually step back and say, who will actually question giving back, my question to them is why? Why are you going? Why are you not doing it? I understand not everyone has the means to give back financially or even like with a physical means, but it doesn't have to be in that way. For example, like how we do these classes, whatever you're good at, you can share that. You can share your knowledge, anything that you can help with, even if it's in the smallest way, as you said, helping out your neighbor. So I really would like to say to the community out there and whoever's listening that really and truly, I think until you actually do it, even if it's a small way, a small act, and until you get that feeling of that satisfaction or of how happy you can, of the fact that you can actually make someone else happy in a genuine way, then you would know what it's like. And I think you should give it a try, and then you would know how it feels. And I know not everyone is equipped to do that, whether it be their time, their job is demanding, they don't have the financial needs, but it doesn't have to be something in a big way where you have to pool money or anything like that. It can be simply sharing your knowledge, asking someone if they need help to, I don't know, throw the garbage, anything like that. So I think people, everyone, and as you said, during this time of COVID-19, I'm glad, I'm not glad that we're going through COVID-19, but I think Trinidadians on the whole, I know, we need to take things a bit more seriously sometimes. And I think they really need to consider these things because it's only together as a community and as a country that we can actually overcome these simple problems that we have from a day-to-day basis. And I think by giving back and doing small acts of kindness, that is a good way to start. So that is my advice to someone. And just letting you all know, it's a great feeling to actually have someone tell you, thank you for what you do. It really is a great feeling. Thank you, Mike, for your question.
Yes, Ethan.
Yes, I completely agree with everything Teresa said. And if I could just sum it up, I think what you were saying is, just be your brother's keeper. It's a simple thing, just look out for your neighbor and do unto others as you would like done to yourself. And I think in trying times like these, it's really important that we all come together as a community and really just group together. And in that way, we all get through this and, everybody has to eat. And I mean, it's really simple, just looking out for each other. And in that way, we can really progress.
And I wanted to ask the question, right? First of all, I saw you have an interesting picture here for everyone of the team here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting that in such a short space of time, you went from you doing it on your own to so many different members of your team, and then going into, I think it's 100 episodes you have online so far, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then when we were talking earlier today, you were saying that you also did some resume referencing. I think it was, resume referencing and some other background in terms of not just secondary school subjects, but thinking beyond that too as well. How important is thinking beyond just secondary school as well for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's really important for Scholarly to be as accessible to everyone who needs it as possible. And part of that is, catering for any sort of audience. So once Scholarly began to get traction, I thought, other people may want resources who are not in secondary school. So that's when it's a lot of adults on Facebook and they reach out to Scholarly for their kids. But some of these adults actually reached out and they want help themselves. So that's when we got the idea for the career development sessions. And that's done by an amazing member of the team. Her name is Satara Rambaran. And she's the person who pioneers all of those sessions. And she does resume. She has this amazing video, which is around an hour. It's huge. It's an hour long. And it's a breakdown of like every single standardized test possible, from SAT to ACT to the dental exam to other postgraduate exams. And all that information is on the Scholarly TT page on Facebook and Instagram. So those who are interested can check it out. But that video shows you how to sign up, how to register, where, how, and why you should do it. And it even points you to free online resources so that you can study effectively and affordably. And things like that are super powerful. And people should really share resources like that around because that can really have a positive impact on someone's life and upbringing. So I'm really happy that Scholarly is able to really break down a lot of the barriers to entry associated with tertiary education, secondary education, and give everybody that level of accessibility and everyone can understand. So, and it's non-discriminatory as well. And furthermore, to add to that, even if you don't want to join any of our sessions or learn anything per se, I believe, whenever we introduce a tutor on our page, we give a nice breakdown of their story, their accomplishments, who they are, attached with a picture. And just for somebody glancing through their Facebook feed, it's nice to see something with a young person. It's an inspiring story. So even if for that 15 minutes or 2 minutes you spend on the post reading it, if you can just walk away from that with a positive experience and feel a little bit inspired, or it just lights up your day, I think that as well is a contribution we're glad to make. So it doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be small, but a contribution is a contribution. And I really believe that Scholarly has one of the best teams in terms of a youth program. I mean, everybody in our team is incredibly talented, incredibly hardworking. Nobody took any days off. And it's because of this amazing group effort that we were able to take Scholarly to the level it has become. And I'm really glad that in just 2.5 months, we were able to get 6,000 followers across social media, create 100 videos, each of which has like 500 views. So that's around 50,000 views between our sessions. We've gotten over 400,000 page reach. And as I said, well, I'm just reiterating, 100 videos, of course. So, it's not only about, Scholarly in terms of what it is, it's what it has been able to achieve. It's what it's been able, the impact it's had. And I'm really proud that I was able to pioneer something which creates a positive impact. And it's really, I have to say, thanks to my amazing team. I mean, if you look at Teresa's biology sessions, for example, they're really excellent. I always tell her that all the time. This is not me being biased or anything. I'm being honest. I mean, it is really good. And we do things differently. We have a few past paper, like I did a CSEC multiple choice run through. Teresa, I know, has plans to do stuff like that as well. And it's full quality classes. We don't really hold back anything.
Yeah.
It's there for those who need it. And eventually, I get this question a lot, so I just wanted to include it. We are eventually gonna, port over to YouTube and so on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just really optimistic about the future, and I'm glad that even if Scholarly, no matter what happens, at least we have that library of content for people to watch, learn from, and enjoy.
That was I'm still trying to process everything that you said. Somehow we know scholars, huh?
Sorry. No.
I hear you. All right. So my next question, as we try to wind down the interview now, you're the two different individuals. What is the process like of creating, let's say, one of your courses and then executing it? Because I know we spoke earlier today and you say you're using iMovie and some simple slides and stuff like that. Why I'm asking the question is because there may be a lot of people out there who maybe want to give back or want to teach and thinking that they don't have the resources or the tools, but I mean.
So, Mike, that's a great question, because a lot of my friends and the people ask me, like, so how do you go about making those videos? And honestly, people may think it's simple, but when Ethan had to go through the process, we need to break it all up first. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying for those of you guys who want to do it, it's not impossible, definitely not. All the programs we use are free. So thank God Ethan was able to find those programs. They are very simple to use once you get someone to walk through it with you. But otherwise, it was a bit challenging at first, because I'm not very techy. But once you get the hang of it for the first time, the first video you make, it goes very smoothly after that. So basically, my process is that I would need to prepare my content. So I would actually make notes. I will write my own notes, gather notes from notes I would have had from high school, use my textbook, obviously, because it's a reliable source. I would also code the textbook in case the kids would want to buy it for themselves. I actually use a study guide, and then I would do my own slides, and then I would use I'm sure Ethan will tell you more about the programs. For those of you who want to know, it's OBS, and I believe it's on board, right, Ethan?
Yes, yeah.
And using those two programs, that's how we compile our slides, and that's how you're able to record your voice. And then I send it to him, and he will edit it using iMovie. So he definitely does the heavy lifting in terms of editing the videos. One of my videos, he had to cut it up into about 6 different pieces because of how much content and how long it was, and then he would upload it to the page. So it is a process, but it definitely is worth it in the end with respect to how many kids you treat, the comments you get, and it is worth it for sure.
Yeah, Ethan.
Yeah. Just to add to that, it is a combination of software that we use to make the videos. But the reason I chose to do it in this way is because when I started Scholarly, I had in the back of my mind that eventually I would like to add more people to the platform. So when I went around finding the combination of software, I wanted something that's easy to replicate. It's free, it's open source, and it works on all platforms, so Mac or Windows. That way, when I add somebody to the team, once again, there's no barriers to entry. It's just if you have the computer, you can do it. So that was why I made this system using a company. I just did some research and I just found OpenBoard, which is free online for both Mac and Windows, and OBS, which is a recording software, which is also free on both platforms. And in using two of those together, you record the window for OpenBoard, and that's how you make the classes. And I do some slight editing on iMovie. If I make a mistake during the class, I'll just cut it out. So it's really just simple editing. But it was really important that we made software that could scale as the group scaled with us and include everybody equally. And yeah, that's really the entire process when it comes to the class. I mean, it can be a little bit daunting in the beginning. I mean, it was daunting for me. And then when I had to set it up, I mean, Trisha's first class, as you said, you do get accustomed to it over time. But it is a good bit of work that goes into the videos because, you have to prep it in advance. And the way we do it is that, like, it's really slow to write with a keyboard, well, with a mouse or trackpad. That's just my opinion. Like, if you watch an online class, half the time is just, like writing with the keyboard or mouse, and they make mistakes and you have to watch them erase it. So I said, let's make the whole class, right? And you make each slide where the information kind of pops up. So you don't really have to do anything in the class. All you do is click next, 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 and that lets you focus more on narrating the content.
Yeah.
So
because of that, I mean, it is a lot of work that goes into videos. I can't lie.
Because you need to make sure you're saying,
2 hours.
You don't want anyone to say, oh, this person doesn't know what she's talking about. And then to do over that whole party video, it does take some time. But I think, again, a great experience. So for those if you would want more information on what Ethan used, I'm sure he can tell you. For those anyone that would want to do videos on their own to give back.
Just to reiterate the point, what was the mental process like? Because you're kind of exposing yourself to the wider public and the way you think. Teaching, I think, to me, teaching is a calling, and to actually disseminate information is a very interesting thing, because you don't want to be able to give the wrong information. What is that process like in your mind as budding tutors? Now, let me let's put a framework out there for people out there watching. These guys are just giving back to the community in their own way, to a student community. They are not purporting to be teachers. They are just students giving back to students based on their own experience. And I think this is it's explicit or tacit knowledge. I can't remember which one, but it's sharing that knowledge in order for us to be able to move forward as a society. And I think that's very important. I think for me personally, sometimes the teaching process is easier when it's a student to student sometimes than when it's a teacher to student. Something in the communication is a little more organic. I don't know, but I want to get from your perspective, what is that process like? Putting yourself out there and giving out information and knowing that you can be criticized.
Yeah, that was a really daunting thing. First of all, I never thought of it in the beginning. When I started, I believe that you can't overly prepare for something. So if you just keep trying to be perfect every time, you'll never start. So inevitably, you just have to start and kind of figure it out as you go. Now, the persons on Scholarly have been really successful in their subject area, so they know what they're talking about, right? But as you said, we're not teachers, and it's a different thing from being a good student to actually being a good tutor, right? We're not official teachers, and this is the first time we're even doing it. So in the beginning, I just thought of it as we're making videos. I didn't really process exactly what we were doing, and I just tried to focus on making good content. I didn't try to overwhelm myself with all of those other worries or doubts, because then the content would reflect that. So I always try to be confident and ensure that what I'm saying makes sense, obviously, and check over. But along the process, sometimes little mistakes happen and you address them, you fix them. And I mean, I don't want to paint it as it's a perfect system, it's a perfect solution. Things happen, you have to edit things out, you make mistakes. I mean, we're all human at the end of the day. So I don't really try to aim for this whole perfectionism across the board, because then you'll have nothing. I mean, you'll have nothing, and it'll take way too much time. So what we do is we prep the content, we check it over, we record the video, and we see the feedback. And if we're seeing what's going on, we can again address it. And I'm sure Teresa maybe has a similar opinion.
Definitely. So one thing I think in terms of being a bit different from Ethan, I was very nervous going into it because I'm very conscious. I am a bit of a perfectionist. So I know that I'm not a teacher, I'm not a professional teacher or anything like that. And we hope that the kids understood that. But at the same time, I know I will be held liable for the information that I'm given, because kids will be like, okay, so she's saying this, it should be correct. And that it did put some pressure on me. So I was very careful with my content. I would send my videos to Ethan. He will review it and he will tell me it's good. So that helped me to feel more confident in my work. But definitely teachers, like, hats off to them, because it's a lot of work in terms of preparing your content, knowing your facts, getting the information correct. But also in all our videos, we always say at either the end or beginning or both, that if they have any questions or concerns or anything they didn't understand, so please message on the page or on Instagram, so we can review it with them, or anything they were unsure about. I always would say to whoever was listening to my videos, so anything I could clarify for them, I definitely wanted to be there to do that. Because obviously, we aren't teachers, but we are just trying. And I'm glad that we had this experience recently with exams. So I think that's why it was good for us to do it. We know what the exams were looking for, and that was the approach I was going for with respect to helping the kids in terms of how to approach a question, how to answer the question. So yeah.
And the main reason why I wanted to ask that question and all too as well is that just to put it out to the public that you're not in any way attempting to replace online learning in the traditional, in the school system, and you're not trying to replace, you're just acting as a supplement to maybe students who are confused or maybe want a different portal.
Exactly.
You're not competing, you're just providing a different avenue, because as Ethan was saying in his video, people reached out to him and wanted that kind of interaction and wanted his secret sauce, basically. And he just trying to say, we're trying to get our method to get the secret sauce out there. As we winding down, as I said before, exams coming up for both of you all. And I want people to know that you're all in school too as well. So you're all under the same pressures. You're in Trinidad. You have exam coming up. It might be practical stuff you have to be getting involved with and all too. You are using the digital technologies as well. What are the opportunities you all see using the digital technologies, and what are also the challenges?
So, I mean, sometimes, your internet connection is unstable and you're in the middle of a lecture and the class just drops. I mean, there's just random challenges which happen every day. You're in your class, somebody cutting the grass. I mean, there are lots of different challenges being home and, you're in an online environment. And, at the end of the day, it's not really a controlled environment, right? So I'd say that's my biggest challenge with online learning, I would say. But overall, for me, it's a positive experience because, I mean, once you're focused and you're self-sufficient, I believe you can get the most out of it once you apply yourself. So, I mean, it does definitely come with the challenges, but you can manage it.
Somebody saying I have a question, but I didn't see any question in terms of the comments. So we'll wait until that question pop up here on screen. Teresa, what are the challenges? But Ethan, you didn't say the opportunities. Now, one of the other things too as well, right? I was hearing somebody in work was talking about it. They say, boy, they never realize it has so much chicken and so much dogs in Trinidad, because every time you go in a classroom, there's a chicken and a dog in the background.
Yeah, that's true.
So I was right to say in terms of the internet connection and all too, because right now tonight I pray to the internet gods for us to have this interview, and we seem to be stable enough in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a problem, definitely. Yeah.
So for you, Teresa, what are the opportunities? What are the challenges first, and let's paint it with the opportunities after.
Okay, sure. Well, definitely challenges besides from the obvious with the internet connection. Being at home definitely is not a stable environment. someone always asking you to come and have something to eat, or they're coming into your room, or they're knocking on your door. They don't remember your schedule, so definitely it is hard. Your family requires that you spend more time with them because you're at home, and usually when you're at school, you have that time to focus, to study. So definitely, I would say that that time has been a bit, taken away from me in a sense. And in terms of the opportunities, however, I think because we're at home, we don't have to physically get up and get ready to go to class. So I definitely think I'm getting a bit more rest for sure on some days. Also, I think I'm in a comfortable environment sometimes. So like say when I'm taking an exam online, I'm a bit more comfortable sometimes. But while I would rather to be in a classroom to be more focused, I tend to be a bit more comfortable at times as well. And yeah, besides for that, I think but I think being in class definitely is the prime opportunity. But that's my feedback for now so far with what I've experienced.
That's the challenges, but what are the opportunities that you're saying is
Yeah, just
you can get up and you can just be, hey, I'm in class. Whew, a late online.
yeah, definitely. I'm never late to class again. Never hasn't happened in a long time, so I'm very happy for that. I think in terms of reaching out to your friends, it's in terms of studying together because sometimes when we're on campus, they have other responsibilities. But now everyone is at home, we can all study together online, and I think that's definitely a big key. And just being in the comfort of my home, I think that is also one of the benefits of the experience.
Big up to Stephen Taylor. She was a student with me in film school, and now he's actually a UTT lecturer starting this semester. Big up Stephen Taylor. So my little community getting big too. So hopefully, fingers crossed, something will happen for Mike too. Oh, we live and we learn. That's what we say here on Mike on the Mike too as well. As I said, we winding on the interview and we getting to know each other too as well. I like my conversations to be very visceral and for us to be able to be very organic and to get to know each other too as well. You all missing any of the little Carnival pump and thing that normally band launching normally pop off this time of the year thing, Hyper Carnival 2021. I mean, students coming back, that's become like a spring break. You all missing anything like that?
Definitely. Definitely. I think for sure, I did miss the band launches. You're right. That's one of the biggest things, I think. Thing with Carnival is I usually have classes during that time. So for me, I wouldn't have been able to come anyways. So I think the band launches for me would be the biggest thing. And just, lying with my friends, being able to go out in public, to go for dinner, simple things like that, So
So
yeah.
one of the questions that's on air that's on screen right now is that if we should go away from the old British system of education. Based on your experience too, obviously, in colleges away and back in Trinidad, do you think it's time for us to move away from the old British system? I mean, that might be that's somebody from the audience asking that question. If you don't want to answer, they say, I don't want to answer, but
that's a very good question, Robert. So thank you for your question. Well, Ethan and I both would have had experience with the British system and the American because, as we know, Trinidad uses the British system. As I also said, I was able to study in England for 1 year. I definitely think the British system is impeccable in terms of their content because going to the States, I have actually been very well prepared from my A-level classes for what I have to do right now. For example, in chemistry, I did organic chemistry in high school. My friends in the United States, they didn't even do organic chemistry in high school, some of them. So I think our system, really and truly, it is a great system. The American system is also a great system. They're both, I would say, are equal. It's just, I think, different ways of learning. And I think it depends on you personally. And you just have to adapt yourself to that way of learning and studying. So I think change is always good, but I definitely think both systems are very well equipped in terms of whatever career it is you're looking at doing.
Same question, Ethan.
Yes, that's a very dynamic question for sure. I agree with Teresa though that the British system is extremely rigorous, and at times I think it's ahead of other education systems. You learn things a lot earlier on, and you cover a broader range of topics. So I'd say in that sense, it's very good in that sense. I saw back to the question that I saw on the screen. It said something about the Scandinavian system. All kids go to a great high school like NAPS or present. I think that's more to do with SEA or common entrance, right? And I mean, I think that system should be addressed. I mean, at such a young age, all that pressure on your shoulders. That is definitely something I think that should be looked at going forward, for sure. So that's what I would really say to answer that question. And I just wanted to plug in something here, just tracking back a little bit. Back with I just wanted to formally say, I forgot to say in my answer that the way we check our videos on Scholarly is like what Teresa said. I just forgot to mention it. So we use a buddy system. So if I make a class in math and I'm a little unsure, I just want to make sure the point is portrayed properly. I'll actually send that to one of my other friends who do math, and they will watch the video, tell me if I made any mistakes and stuff. And that way, we get at least two pairs of eyes, right, on the video. And that's really how we check the video. I just wanted to include that, we do check over all of the content before it goes on the page. So I just want to formally, say that on the podcast.
And Robert is saying also too, most of the tech giants kind of drop out of school though. So
yeah, I think that is a little bit misleading, because at the end of the day, they are extremely educated and they dropped out of like Harvard or Stanford or MIT. So I think it's a different level when you drop out of a school like that to pursue your passion, especially when a lot of them were already midway or close to completing their course. So these people are already exceptional and they already have an idea of what they're doing. So I would say that, me dropping out of university doesn't necessarily mean that, that's the right path to take. And if you look at the percentage of people who drop out and become successful versus the percentage of people that stay in university, I mean, it's obviously swayed, right? So I mean, just because a few people dropped out, we're talking about 2 or 3 here, right? Like Facebook, Microsoft, I'm not sure, right? Yeah, they succeeded, but the idea was already gaining a lot of traction before they dropped out of school. So I mean, it is something where not all the time do you need a formal education to be successful. I don't agree with that either. I mean, there are lots of skills you don't learn in school, and a lot of people who are successful on their own without a formal tertiary education, especially, who go into business, etc., right? But at the same time, you have to understand that the narrative of you could be this super tech giant as a college dropout, it doesn't really paint the whole picture,
Interesting perspective, very interesting perspective. Very, very interesting perspective. I didn't realize the live was on for so long too, boy. Wow, we've been talking to each other for a little while. But also too, let me give some context, because I allow my audience to get to know me too as well. When I went to secondary school, and I went to Tranquil in Port of Spain. I went to a little country primary school, and when I came out of secondary school, I didn't have no big set of passes. When I started working at TV6, I was going back to school in an actual school uniform. I went back to school in upper level to get back CSEC passes. I did my film degree a little while later on. I've been in the industry for a little while, and I did my film degree too as well. And I got that, I think it was in 2015 or 2014, if I'm wrong. It took me about 8 years to graduate. but I did eventually, and then just January going past here, I did my master's too as well. So we all have different parts, and we just addressing to the audience too as well. I tell you, when I went back to school, it was just necessary to get a framework of thinking in a different space. So when I did the film degree, I thought of myself as this big artistic fella, and I need to think logical and because I'm an artist and X, Y, Z. But when I did the master program too as well, what it allowed me to is the opportunity to think about stuff through a critical lens, and learn to think of things systematically and the process behind it. And when I marry the both worlds, it makes things a lot better. And that's where Mike on the Mic basically came from too as well. I saw a lot of times in my entrepreneurship class, I remember Dr. Bahau speaking about it. And she said, in crisis, there are opportunities, and real entrepreneurs see the opportunity in a crisis. So like yourself, Ethan, I mean, you mightn't think about it, but you were an entrepreneur. You saw the opportunity, and you created this digital space for other students. And it now is a portal that allows for other scholarship winners like Teresa and the others on your team to give back to the community, and to give back in a tangible way too as well. Similarly for Mike on the Mic too as well. As I told you earlier today, I'm spending money behind this. I mean, I'm doing this for free basically, just like yourself, giving back to the community. But also too, what I get from it is a form of therapy. It allows me to link up with people like yourself and to show that we're all in it together, because there's too much, many times in the media, you feel disconnected to the actual reality of what's happening. And I use this as a portal to be able to communicate myself, my thoughts, and my authentic self. I'm not trying to put on a show here. I don't have a list of questions. I mean, this is just us having an organic conversation. And I think it's necessary at this time. As we winding down the interview, is there anything that you'd like to leave with the audience, both of you guys, as we look to close off the live?
Well, Mike, I would just like to go back on the point you made earlier about people giving back and the fact that, people who think about it, and some may say, you know what, no, not today or maybe another time. I just think, that the message I would like to leave is, you don't have to be in any specific position. You don't have to be any certain age. Like, I'm glad we're this young and we're able to do this now. But I would just like to encourage you guys, because this is what the country needs. This is what we need to become better and to move forward. So that is what I would like to leave with you all tonight.
Good night, Jesse Ramdell. Ethan.
Yeah, so I'd just like to comment on your point about entrepreneurs. And I feel like the way you judge entrepreneurial talent is the ability to solve a central problem, right? That's basically what you were saying. So I would say that in Trinidad, I think that the future of Trinidad really relies on people to innovate, be an entrepreneur, and really solve the problems in society. And when we internalize these problems, we come up with our own solution. And if these solutions are meaningful, they can really have a positive impact on our country and really take us onto a better future. So that's what I would like to leave with. I would hope that, the youth of this country really see Scholarly's mission, not only just as, we give back, but also as a way of inspiration that, look, as the youth in this country, you can take a stand. Your voice can be heard. Just because you're a single person or individual doesn't mean that you can make a group and get the help and try and, assist in some form. I mean, once you look at a problem and you try to, make a good solution, you can have a successful program. And I really hope that, Trinidad is able to go down that direction. And a lot of people have that independence to really say, you know what, I'm not going to hesitate. I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to try something and see what happens.
And to reiterate one of the points that you made, and I think that's such an important point, knowing your history, Ethan, you weren't always the A student. You weren't always on the road to a scholarship. What was the mindset, or what was that thought that made you change that? For anybody who might be out there and might be inspired by this life, what caused that thought or caused that change?
Okay, well, whenever you're aiming for a big goal, I do believe that there has to be some form of talent, right? You need to know that you have the ability to do it. And once you know that you have that ability, it's all about refinement after that. So I knew that for a big majority of my life, I was above average in academics. But as I got closer to Form 5, I was more and more overwhelmed with the workload and I began to sink. And at that point, I had to evaluate, what do I do? It's either I continue on the path and not do well, or I succeed. So I backed myself into a corner where I had to succeed. So now that you know you want to succeed, you figure out, how do I succeed and what are the means to get there? So I started taking on extra classes. I started, being more engaged in my classes. I started asking a lot of questions. And within that, the next 6 months, I did around eight notebooks cover to cover in math, in a lot of my different subjects, right? And you really have to, just dedicate yourself 100%. And you need to put yourself in the mindset that, look, the odds may be against you now, but they won't always be. And you really need to focus on that brighter future and where you see yourself, not where others see you, and not focus on external validation. You really just need to keep your head down. You don't have to let anybody focus on you, and just disappear for a little while, work hard, and reemerge as somebody that you're proud to be, and see that vision for yourself that nobody else can. So I think it's all about reaching out to people for help, believing in yourself, and not only working hard, but working smart and doing the right things to get to where you want to be. And also, we spoke about this earlier. When you have a big goal, it's really useful to break it up into a set of smaller goals, right? And every week in, week out, you can accomplish something on your way to a bigger goal. When people have big goals, they tend to get overwhelmed and flustered, and then they never really even start. But just like scholarly, right? I had this big idea initially where I can have a platform to help a lot of students and it would feature a lot of scholarship winners. But I didn't just try to do it overnight. I broke it up into several goals. So first was me establishing it, and I did that for 2 weeks. And then I started adding people. Teresa would know this because she was there in the process. Every week I would add somebody slowly but surely and integrate them into the page. I didn't try to rush it. And that's another thing, a lot of people, they want to be successful. They want to have something which a lot of people appreciate, but nobody wants to get successful slowly. Everybody wants to try and do it quickly, but that's not really sustainable. So I would say that, you take a big goal, you break it up into smaller sub goals, and you tick them off as you go. And eventually you just keep going. And I don't really put a cap on my goals. I just say, let's see how far we can go and how far we can take this. And whatever happens, happens. And I just saw a question come up about extracurricular, and that's really important. And what I would say is, to be honest with you, I didn't do much extracurriculars because I didn't have the time. I mean, I simply saw what I needed to do, and that was all I was concerned with. But I would take my necessary breaks. I would try and watch, football. I really love football, and I would schedule time, some downtime. Teresa can also say this too, because I know she's somebody who works really hard, and we spoke about this in the past, where it's really important to take those breaks. Allow your mental health and so on to be fine, and of course, you need to incorporate downtime. And I believe Teresa would know about that.
Yeah, how is important is the extracurricular, Teresa? One and two. What do you do that different from the studying and the books and stuff like that? What do you prefer?
I'm very, very, very similar to Ethan in that sense because I had a lot of extra classes. I was basically a bookworm, so I really just use all my time to study, to make notes. But you don't have to do, okay, so I know there's specific extracurricular activities like sports, etc., playing, learning how to play an instrument. So for those kids out there who don't necessarily take part in any specific, so I'm not discouraging you all. If you can do it, especially when you have the time, especially in the lower grades and lower forms, you should definitely do it. But extracurricular activities are not the only way to wind down or to take a break. It could be spending time with your family, watching a movie, just having some time for yourself, and that is most important. So I think once you take those breaks and you also get your work done, you will be fine. Because not everyone gets the time or the opportunity to actually go out to play a sport or to do something, and that's totally fine as well. Just make sure you take your breaks. But don't let the breaks be too long. Make sure and get your work done as well.
For sure.
And I could plug the value of extracurricular as well. My daughter is involved in ballet. She's involved in cello. She plays for Trinidad and Tobago Philharmonic. She's also drawing. She does animation too as well. So she's really good with the extracurricular activities.
Well, definitely. I wish I was like that.
That's amazing.
That's
my wife. Yeah, that's not me. She's an educator and she knows the value of extracurricular activities too as well. I never went. When I was in Tranquil, I was never a part of any of the extracurricular activities. We had a really tough life growing up, to be quite honest. But that's a different conversation for Mike on the mic. But I see the value of it because it also allows you to socialize and also allows you that opportunity to interact with one another. And I mean, I see the disadvantages now with COVID-19 with my daughter, especially because she's such an independent person and she loves these activities that now being taken away is almost like jail mentally for these young children. And I pray the day that we get to flatten this curve and we get back things to semi-normal, because it's very important for young people to be able to interact with one another too as well. I'm gonna say we've been on for a little while. I know this conversation could continue, but I want to say thank you guys for coming here on Mike on the Mic, for giving your input, for imparting the knowledge. I know the conversation was very informal, but I wanted it that way because I think that it allows for authentic selves. We're not following a script, we're not guided by that. I wanted it to be that being a scholarship winner can be achievable once you set your mind to it. Ethan answered the question earlier on. Teresa, was it always your dream to be a scholarship winner and to your path? Was it always decided, or did it come to you over time organically?
Well, Mike, to be honest, when I entered St. Augustine Girls, I actually didn't know what a scholarship was. It's only when I first heard the upper girls speak about it. And then I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I would like to be on the stage one day giving a speech, as to why I got a scholarship and how thankful I am. And from then on, I wouldn't say it was something that I forced myself to, okay, I have to get it, I have to do it. But as time did go by, I realized the importance. And what I see a scholarship as is that besides for you getting help with respect to attending school financially, it's the fact that you have reached your full potential in terms of your education. Now, lots of people don't get scholarships. That does not mean that they're not smart or they don't have a great potential. So I just looked at it as, if I can get one, I will be happy with myself. But I also said, once I know I did my best, that's what it really was about for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. That is true.
Yeah, and I agree with that too, because your boy's still paying a student loan for your master's. But that's a different topic. I want to say good night to you guys. Good night. Thanks for coming here on Mike on the Mic. It was a very interesting and organic conversation. Thank you for
Mike. It was a great experience.
Thank you for having us. Yes, it was great.
Thank you guys for bringing your authentic selves, because I think that's very important. If we inspire at least one person, two people, I've been saying this earlier on. I got this from a guy who I interviewed called Alois. He's a musician. Because of COVID-19 stuff shut down, and then he's a cook actually, and he has his own business. If you want to see that interview, it's on the Mike on the Mic page. You can go back to it. But one thing that he had in his interview that I want to continue on, his interview was very organic and it was full of love. And we say we wanted to build a pyramid scheme of love. Pyramid scheme is the big topic in Trinidad. So if we get one person to share, we could get this content out. I think is necessary and is important for young people to be able to hear this content and to take Trinidad and Tobago forward. Thank you for your human service. Thank you for giving back to the community. Thank you for allowing our framework for educators to be able to lean on each other too as well, and to see that the students as well are creating spaces for themselves. Thank you for flying the Trinidad and Tobago flag internationally too, as well as our own scholarship winners, and you all are doing well. Thank you for all your work, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Really appreciate this.
And wife, you're going to give me some licks now, because food on the table there is an hour later. And I didn't do nothing with it.
Cool.
You get cool. Yeah, we go get it. But there's a labor of love here on Mike on the Mic, as I said. Thank you, guys. You all have a good night, and take care from me here on Mike on the Mic.
Thank you.
Wanna ride?